In this video, we talked to Adam, one of the co-founders of Leaf Shave. We had an excellent conversation, and I hope you enjoy it. Stay tuned.
Welcome back, everyone, for another traditional shaving spotlight. And today we are joined by Adam from Leaf, and he is the co-founder of Leaf. Welcome, Adam. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
I must ask you, and this is a sort of a softball question that we always start off with. How did you find yourself involved with traditional shaving? Now, I want to caveat. I'm going to ask you some tougher questions as it applies to tradition, because people have mixed feelings about Leaf when it comes to that. But how did you find yourself involved with shaving in general?
Sure. So ever since I started shaving, it's been an issue for me. It's been a painful experience, and it was very frustrating when I was younger because what seemed like such an effortless task for everyone else just always seemed to elude me. And I don't know if it's because, I'm kind of cursed with sensitive skin, but then also very coarse hair. And so it just seemed like if I got a comfortable shave, it wasn't very close. And if I got a close shave, it wasn't very comfortable. And I was bleeding all over the place. And so this kind of started me on my shaving journey, so to speak. And because I was trying to find something that worked for me. And so I tried everything on the market, right? So every cartridge razor, disposable razor, and then obviously I found old school safety razors, and I really loved those. I thought they were great. They have all kinds of advantages, right? So they're all metal, so there's no plastic. They're cheaper in the long run. It's just like a cool, heirloom kind of gadget that you have. They're heavy. So I really liked them, and I really loved the shave that I got out of them. But the problem was, they're a little bit more technique dependent than cartridge razors. And I'm a person that's like perpetually late for everything. And so I found myself just not having the time to meticulously, shave my face. And so even though when I did have the time and I could really enjoy it, they were great. They still weren't really, the perfect solution for me. And so I have a background in mechanical engineering. That's what I went to school for. I've worked in product development for big medical device companies, the first part of my career. And so seeing, the kind of the contrast between cartridge razors and just kind of how easy they are to use, but then all the advantages that safety razors bring to the table, I thought to myself, well, why isn't somebody kind of married these two and make what's kind of a hybrid, right? So it has all the advantages of old school safety razor shaving, with the comfort and convenience and speed that cartridge shaving brings to the table. And so that's kind of how the Leaf was born, so to speak, is I kind of went online and tried to find something like this, and there really wasn't much out there. And so being a product development guy, I thought to myself, hey, I can design something like this, and I think that there's a market for it. I think people will respond to it, or at least people that have the same problems that I do. And so, yeah, that's how the Leaf, the idea was born.
What inspired the Leaf's design? Because it's a unique design using double-edged razor blades. It also pivots. What inspired its design? Was there anything you looked at that you sort of took something from, or said, I want to sort of do this, but in a different way?
Yeah. So really, it all harkens back to, like I said, just me trying all the different razors that are out there, and kind of making a list of what I liked about some of them and what I didn't like about some of them. We initially started off, we wanted this thing to be kind of an easy transition from cartridge shaving. And so, because that's a lot of reasons why people don't stick with safety razor shaving, is because it does require some technique. And a lot of people just don't have the patience, or their skin's just not conducive to it, or maybe they try a safety razor that's like super aggressive, and then they just think that they're all like that. And so we wanted this to be, a very easy transition, kind of something that's right in the middle. So it's super easy to use, but we wanted to use double-edged blades because of how cost effective they are and how they don't have any plastic, and you can recycle them indefinitely. So for all the environmental issues as well, and the fact that these are probably the most ubiquitous shape for a blade that you can get. So we wanted something that's, readily available as well. There are some razors out there that are similar to ours, but they use blades that aren't as easily available as double edged. So we wanted to use these just because there's so many different companies that make them, and it all comes down to customization as well. So you can, if you have your specific blade that you like, whether it be Astra or Feather, you can use that blade in our razor.
Let me get to the tough question now, because this is the one that people throw at me all the time, because I'm a fan of the Leaf. I love it on
Great.
my head.
Awesome.
I think it's an exceptional head shaving razor. And the reason that it works well for me is because the curves and contours of the head. So when you
Sure.
put the Leaf on your head, because it pivots, and I know people in the traditional community poo-poo pivots, but pivots do work. Now,
Yeah.
some will argue that's what your arm is for. Yes, but it's hard when you have a safety razor that's like a T, and you're going around these curves, contours, and the Leaf, it just does that for you. It does make it easier. The
Sure.
question is, though, is the Leaf a cart razor?
I would say no. And so I think when people ask me this question, and because we get this all the time, we have people calling it a safety razor, which I don't think it is. And, in answer to your question, I don't think it's a cartridge razor either. I really do think that we've kind of invented what we call is a hybrid, right? So it's kind of a new category, and it takes design elements from both safety razors and cartridge razors, and just kind of melds it into this new category. And like you said, I mean, yes, the pivoting head is there for all the reasons that you mentioned, right? It just makes things easier. Now if you get a super close shave, and you have the patience and you have the time and the technique to do the safety razor route, then that's great. But for something especially like your head, that's probably a lot more difficult. I've never shaved my head personally, but I can only imagine that you have a lot more real estate to cover. It's a lot bonier, so it's probably a lot less forgiving than your face in terms of cuts. And like you said, you're not, you got to go back here and you got to get that angle right. Certainly not impossible, but a pivoting head, makes it easier.
What inspired the long handle? So that's also something that sort of brings about a little bit of debate. Myself, I tend to like shorter handles. On the head, I find that I like it. It actually works for me. But on my face, I don't care much for the long handle. And people have asked me directly to ask you, have you ever considered making a shorter handled version?
Yes. So maybe I'll answer that question in two parts. So one, the justification for the longer handle to begin with. So really, that harkens back to, we wanted to make this a razor for everyone, right? So not just men, but women as well. Not just faces, heads, legs, bikini lines, all that stuff. And so one of my first beta testers was actually my wife, which, some people say I'm a glutton for punishment there, giving my wife an untested razor and asking her to, do some damage. But one of the things that I noticed was, she has to reach a lot farther when you shave your legs. Same thing with shaving your head. You have to reach around like this. And so we thought, a longer handle would just functionally be a little easier, because you can reach farther with it. It's pretty simple. And then also it brings a level of distinction to our razor. So we don't shy away from being different. We're certainly not, we don't want to be different just for different sake, but when there's something that's functional in there that looks different than all the other razors that are out there, we like that, because it brings attention to us, and it makes us more unique. So that's kind of that was the design philosophy behind the longer handle. In answer to have we ever considered making a shorter version, the answer is yes. And we're actually releasing our next razor, which is called the Twig. You may have heard about it. We've released it on social media, and we were actually shipping beta versions of it with the Leaf in the very beginning to get as much feedback as we can. So we've gotten a ton of feedback from people from all walks of life. We've refined it into a metal version, and so we're releasing it on Kickstarter within the next couple of months. And so if people want to get updates, they can go to twigrazor.com and sign up to get updates for that. And so it's going to be more of a traditional safety razor, in the fact that it does not have a pivoting head and it's only one single blade. It'll still take, a single DE blade, so that's good. But it does have a shorter handle, and like I said, it'll be more of a traditional, safety razor type experience where you have a little bit more control. The head will be much smaller because it only takes one single blade. And in answer to your question, the handle is shorter.
So one of the other issues that sometimes folks bring up with me is it can be a little bit slippery when there's water on it. Now, it may not be an issue if you're shaving your legs and it's pointed downward, but sometimes when you're holding it upwards and you're shaving your head, the water tends to run down. The handle can be a little bit slippery. So some of the questions that I've got, or one of the questions I should say that I got from viewers is, have they considered putting a coating on it or some knurling or anything like that?
Yeah. So this is feedback we get a lot. Right when we released the razor, this is one of the first pieces of feedback we got was, we love it, but when you have soapy hands, it gets slippery. And so we're all about customer feedback. We take the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it. We want to compile it so that we can, make changes, make updates, make new razors, and take all that into account. And so we are going to be releasing a rubber grip that you can actually put around the handle. That's going to be coming out in the next few months as well. It'll be a cheap edition, and you just kind of slide it on there. It's silicone. It's got some texture to it, so hopefully that'll solve the problem. But a little trick that I love to tell people about that a lot of the safety razor old school guys know about is using alum, right? So you just rub a little bit of that on your hands, and you pick it up, and it really does. It's actually kind of amazing. Like, I remember reading about it, and I thought to myself, how much of a difference can that make? And then I tried it, and I was like, this really is like magic. Alum is just really, really cool stuff. And so, I've told people to use that because it really does work, and it helps with the grip in the interim.
So a lot of people also talk about the blades and the number of blades that you can use in the leaf. I've used 2 or 3. There's debate out there in the community as to whether the third blade and the top is absolutely essential. Mm-hmm. I have not had 2 side by side to try and see how much difference the third blade makes. Some people feel it makes no difference at all. Mm-hmm. I cannot validate that because typically I use 3. What are your feelings about folks who use 2 blades versus 3? And do you think that third blade makes a big difference in the very top?
Sure. So we wanted to make this razor as accessible to everyone as possible. I talked about my difficulties with shaving and just getting, irritation. And so we wanted to have 3 blades, not only because in terms of cartridge razors, we thought 3 blades was a pretty nice sweet spot just in terms of what the market has accepted as kind of truth, right? The Gillette Mach 3 is the best-selling razor of all time. And so, part of it was we wanted people to be comfortable with 3 blades. But the other thing was we wanted this thing to be customizable. So we wanted you to be able to kind of dial it in and adjust it to your face. So for me, I can use 3 blades to shave with the grain, but if I try to go against the grain with 3, it's bad things happen. So I take out the bottom blade, reduce the aggressiveness. Now I can shave against the grain, get super close, something I can't do with cartridge shavers. And so this is kind of the philosophy behind having those 3 blades. Now, I will say that the third blade is extremely mild, probably, too mild for most DE guys. They're going to put, if they just use the third blade and go, they're going to say, this is just, it's not doing anything. I will say that as somebody with super sensitive skin, the worst time for me to shave is a day after I've already gotten really, really close. So if I do, full 3 passes, and then the next day I have to shave, I actually only will use the third blade and go against the grain. And it's the only way that my face doesn't just completely revolt against me and I look terrible. So I will say that it does have its place. But really, we're not here to tell people how to shave. We're just here to say, do whatever works for you. That's the beauty of this thing. If 1 blade works for you, if 2 blades work, if 3 blades work, do whatever you want. The beauty is these blades, as are so economical and they're so cheap that you can afford to put all three blades in, even if you don't really think that the third blade is doing much for you, or try it with two. And if you don't see a difference, then don't put the third blade in. But for me, I will say that it is there for a reason. I actually do use it on its own on occasion, and so yeah, that's why we have three blades.
One of my viewers reached out to me and said, Leaf, I think, changed their logo on the handle. I can't recall whether it had changed or not, but I would ask, did you change the logo? And if so, what inspired that change?
Yeah, so we did. So we actually, when we first came out, the logo was actually like a leaf on a tree. And people really seemed to like that. As we evolved as a brand, we switched the logo. We actually rebranded. We got a new website and we rebranded. And that was just a standard evolution of the brand in general, just to make it a little bit more modern. In actuality, we are going to be releasing yet another new brand and another new website, total overhaul, within the next couple months. And again, this is just it evolves to our brand. It speaks more to the sustainability of the razor, which we've determined is a really important factor in all this. And so it's all just to, kind of evolve the brand so that it speaks more to the customer and really represents what we as a company are all about a little bit better.
Gotcha. I've also been asked if you have any plans to make a more traditional type razor. Now, we've talked already about the twig. Do you have any plans looking at injector razors or artist club type razors, or is that even anywhere in your mind at this point?
Yeah, so I mean, we are first and foremost a razor company. That's what got us our start, and we have big plans to create accessories and consumables like shave soap. But at our core, we're a razor company. So really, my roadmap for this is to have a full suite of razors that are available so that everybody can go in and pick and choose the perfect razor for them, or even multiple razors, right? I mean, we fully assume people that are, maybe that love the leaf, they're also going to buy the twig, maybe because hey, I want to grow a beard this month, and I want something that is, a little bit better at cleaning up the lines. The twig is perfect for that, right? So in answer to your question, we do have plans to have a larger suite of razors that kind of touch on those things. If you want to talk about an injector razor specifically, that's probably not on our radar, and most of the reason is because we like sticking with the double-edged blades just because of how cheap and available they are. But in answer to your question, yes, I mean we are planning on expanding and having many more options available very, very soon. Starting with
I'm sorry. You mentioned consumables. So what type of consumables are you thinking about?
Yeah, I mean, well, the obvious extension is shave soap, right? And so we're currently working on a formula that we think is really great. We have some interesting ideas that I just don't want to disclose quite yet because we think they're really cool and really neat. But we have some accessories around the shave soap that we think that people are really gonna be excited about. So hopefully that will come out, probably by the end of this year. Hopefully by the holidays they'll be available.
Tell me a little bit about your guarantee, because I know the razor has a lifetime warranty, but there's also, I believe, a 30-day satisfaction guarantee. Can you tell me a little bit about what that encompasses?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we want to reduce all the barriers to people trying this, right? And so one of the barriers is, hey, this is a pretty high price point for a razor. What if I don't like it? And so that's where the 30-day, no questions asked, money back guarantee comes in. So you can buy the razor, you can try it. 30 days is a pretty generous amount of time to really get a feel for it. And to be honest with you, we're not crazy sticklers about that 30 days. I mean, if somebody comes back to us in, 40, 50 days and says, hey, I thought I liked it, but I really don't, we're all about customer service. We're not going to make a stink about it. And so that's where that guarantee comes back, because we want people to be able to use it, and without the fear of, hey, I'm out a bunch of money now and I really don't like this thing. And in terms of the lifetime guarantee, we look at this as something like the last razor you're ever going to buy, right? And so, this is it. If you really like this razor, there's no reason to buy another one. And your overall ongoing cost of shaving just went from, I mean, if you're a cartridge razor guy or a woman, it just went from a couple $100 a year to, maybe $10 a year or $20 a year or something like that. And so that's why we want people to be confident that if something does break on this, we're going to stand behind our product and we're going to make it right.
Do you think the Leaf might be sort of a gateway for people who are coming from cart shaving into maybe a more traditional style razor?
Yeah, absolutely. And we actually get comments from people who, have children that are just getting to shaving age, so teenagers, and they don't really like cartridge shaving, but they don't want to just give them a safety razor and say, here, have at it. So they give them the Leaf because, like I said, you can use that second blade or the third blade, really dial down the aggressiveness, basically eliminate the chance of cutting yourself, and let them practice on that and get a good feel for that, and then once they get that technique down and they get, all the other stuff down like lather and everything, then they can certainly try, safety razor shaving and see if it's for them. And honestly, that's one of the reasons why we decided to introduce the Twig is to capture that market of people that really prefer the control that a non-pivoting head provides. And so that's where the Twig comes in.
Leaf was kind enough to send us a giveaway. So I've been telling people for some weeks that I'm going to give this away during this particular recording. And before we did the recording, I went to the YouTube comment picker, and Banaka is the winner of this razor. Right. And I'll drop the slide in. And I know Banaka is a nice lady, and I think she's going to appreciate this razor. And it also comes with your blade bank. It comes with a stand and some blades. So congrats, Banaka. Reach out to me and I'll ship this off to you. I want to ask you, what other products do you offer right now as it is from Leaf?
So currently we offer the razor, obviously, and blades. We offer a stand, and then we offer the blade disposer like you showed there. So the great thing about the blade disposer is it's a great place to store all your used blades, so you're not throwing sharp objects into the garbage. But then also after that gets filled up, which actually admittedly will take quite some time. I know it's a small little tin, but when you actually try to fill it with these little blades, it takes quite a while. You can do one of two things. You can either go to any local scrap metal place and they will recycle it. That's the great thing about stainless steel. It is infinitely recyclable, and so it's truly a no waste shaving solution. Or if you don't want to do that, if you can somehow get it back to our warehouse, we will take it to our local scrap metal places and recycle it for you. And so that way you're not, throwing more things into a landfill.
Awesome. I know you have a Leaf there with you. Would you care to show us basically what the Leaf looks like, the pivot, maybe how it loads for people who may have never seen it?
Yeah, of course. So this is the razor here. So again, all metal construction, no plastic. Hopefully it'll last you the rest of your life. If anything breaks on it, lifetime guarantee, 30-day money back guarantee. So as you can see, this is the pivoting head here. So this is where, you can basically just push it down onto your skin, and that will basically place the blades at the perfect angle for you to shave. So the way you load it is there's a little screw back here, a thumb screw. So you undo that, and you don't have to worry about it falling out. It's captive. And then you basically just flip open these. There's 3 levels here. So the top, the middle, and the bottom. And then you use half a double-edged blade. So these are already broken in half, but if you have a full double-edged blade, while the blade is still in the wrapper, just snap it right in half. It's super easy, and then you layer it in. So there's 2 tabs on the sides of the razor, and they interface with the 2 indentations on the blade, and it just lays right there, and it puts it in the perfect spot. It's magnetic assisted, so there's a little magnet in there. So once you kind of get it in place, it'll stay put. And so, like I said, you can load 3 blades total. but you don't have to load all three. You can load one or two, and depending on where you put those, that adjusts the aggressiveness of the razor. And so the bottom most blade, the one that I just installed there, is the most aggressive. The one on top of it is slightly less aggressive, and then as we mentioned, the top blade is very mild. So I have two blades here, so I'll put the second one in like that. And then you close the top, screw back down the thumb screw on the back until it's snug, and you're ready to go. And so you can swap these blades out. I mean, that's one of the big question that we get all the time is, how long do these blades last? And I always say, I would use them until you start to feel a difference, right? Until you start to feel some tugging, then swap them out. But it depends on so many factors that there's not a blanket answer for everyone. Some people change them every single shave if they like, a super sharp blade. Other people I've heard will keep them in there for a month or more. So it all just depends on what you want. And I mentioned this before, the beauty of using these double-edged blades is, they're so cheap that, you can swap them out every time if you want, and you're still saving money over cartridge.
I must say the Leaf for me is the razor that actually put carts almost out of the house, because on my face, I love straight razors. I love double-edged razors. I love single-edged razors.
Mm-hmm.
But on my head, I found it a lot more difficult to use those devices, especially in some of the contours and curves. And so when I got the Leaf, I used it on my face. I did like it. I think the common complaint is that because it's tall under the nose, there are some people complain about that. But otherwise, I found it to be a very good shaver for my face. But Chris Maiden, actually of Another Cut Above on YouTube, was shaving his head with it, and it inspired me to try it. And I was like, wow, this is a really good head shaver. And the pivot actually helps me a lot, especially with the head. It is, as you mentioned before, there's very little padding there. It's you're practically on bone. And so I find that the orientation of the Leaf just works very well for my head. Now, I will say, the Leaf is not a cartridge razor. And if you dig in and you really apply a lot of pressure, it will cut you. I don't find it to be remotely menacing, but you have to treat it with respect, especially with those super sharp DE blades.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. There is a certain learning curve with it. And you're right. If you're whipping it around and you're not being careful, it does have the potential to cut you, especially if you're using all three blades. I recommend with everybody, if you're getting cut up a lot, then I would remove that bottom blade, reduce the aggressiveness, and that should pretty much eliminate that. But yeah, head shavers, they love us for all the reasons that you mentioned. Face shavers, yeah, getting under the nose is a little bit trickier because the head is a little bigger. I find that if you just do an across the grain swipe, you can get there no problem. And then women love it too. Over half of our customers are actually women because of the way they shave their legs. They like the longer handle. They love the pivoting head because they can go faster because they have a lot more real estate to shave. And so yeah, we're getting great response. We love getting feedback. Like I said, even if it's bad, actually, one would argue that negative feedback is actually more valuable than positive feedback because it tells us, the things that maybe we're not doing well or that we could do better. And we're here to stay. And so we're going to keep designing razors and redesigning razors until basically the whole world is shaving with Leaf.
The one thing that I would caution people about is, and this is with any razor, cart razor, a horizontal movement anytime is going to result in a cut. If you have the razor oriented to your face and you move this way, I don't care what razor you're using, you will get a cut. If there's no accompanying up and down motion, vertical, you go horizontal, you're going to be cut. I have cut myself with it on the head, being sloppy, just not being mindful.
Right. Yeah.
But generally, I get super smooth shaves. It gets in tough spots that DE razors have trouble getting, and DE razors oftentimes nick me where the Leaf does not, and that's why I like it. Now, I do know that there are people who just poo-poo it. It's a cart, it's a glorified cart, but I'm of the opinion use whatever works, and if it works best for you, then use it. And the Leaf just works extremely well for me, especially for head shaving. And I've been contacted by many people who just say, hey, thanks for showing me the Leaf. I really appreciate it. I didn't know about it, and that's why we're having you on today. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our viewers today about your company, plans for the future, or just a message you'd like to leave with them?
I mean, you know, I love hearing what you just said, right? It's you came across it, you said, hey, I'll give it a try, even though it kind of looks like a cartridge razor, and you ended up really liking it, and it solved a problem for you. You know, I think that we have a pretty easy time getting the cartridge people to try it out, just because of all the benefits that it has. Sometimes with the hardcore safety razor guys, like you said, they look at the pivoting head and they say, oh, you know, that's not for me. You know, my recommendation for them would be, if safety razor shaving works for you, then great. You know, like I said, I'm not here to tell anybody how to shave. And like I said, shaving is so subjective that if you find something that works for you, then I would stick with it. But for me, I find that the Leaf, maybe if it's not your go-to every day, like I want to, you know, have the most luxurious shave and all that, but maybe I'm in a rush, you know, maybe the Leaf could be your go-to there, because you can just go faster with it. And again, that was one of the reasons why I designed it, is because I found myself just not having the time to be as careful with the safety razor. So, you know, I just want people to give it a try. And if you don't like it, like I said, there's always the 30-day money back guarantee. Tell us what you don't like about it. Like I said, I mean, we love to get feedback. You know, like I said before, we're here to stay. We're going to continue designing and redesigning and refining until everybody is shaving with Leaf, because it's better for the environment, and it's better for consumers because, you know, it's cheaper and it just doesn't create a lot of plastic waste. So we see it really solving a lot of problems that just don't need to be there.
Well, thanks so much for joining us, Adam. I really appreciate it. I appreciate your commitment to solving problems. It certainly did for me, so I'm happy about it. I hope other people will try the Leaf, give it a shot. You really have nothing to lose. Worst case, you send it back. I really appreciate the fact that you guys are listening and taking feedback. That handle, I forget what you called it, the rubber piece that you're going to offer. That's just somebody who's listening and keeping their minds open. So I thank you so much for that. Anything else you want to share before we?
I don't think so. Just thank you, and thanks to all your followers for you know, watching. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. We're always here. You can talk to me or my co-founder directly. We're always on the customer service line. So if you ask us a question, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be talking to one of us directly. We love to get questions. We love to get feedback. And yeah, just check us out on leafshave.com. And thanks so much for having me.
Thank you, Adam. We're wishing you a lot of success in the future. I hope everything goes well.
All right. Thank you.